Another gun tragedy, and President Trump speaks. White nationalism is a real threat. Markets go for a wild ride in U.S. China trade fight. I'm Jamal Simmons. This is Why You Should Care. The country is reeling once again from gun violence. This time, 2 mass shootings hit us over the weekend in 2 different cities, and in less than 24 hours of each other. As of today, 30 people have been killed while more are injured. These stories are still developing, but here's what we know. First mass shooting occurred in El Paso, Texas, when a 21-year-old white male allegedly killed more than 20 people in a Walmart. Police said they found an anti-immigrant manifesto released to the popular website 8chan that they believe was written by the suspect, though it has not been confirmed. The document supported white nationalist and racist views. Federal authorities are treating the El Paso mass shooting as a case of domestic terrorism. The second mass shooting took place in Dayton, Ohio, where 9 people were killed in a bar early Sunday morning. The suspect in that shooting was killed on the scene. Now here's why you should care. Democratic lawmakers are demanding that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell take action this week on long-stalled gun control legislation they argue could help prevent the next large-scale tragedy. Today, President Trump suggested via tweet tying legislation strengthening background checks on firearm sales to immigration reform. However, at a press conference this morning, Trump focused on mental health and social media and did not repeat his call for background checks. Gun control groups disagreed with Trump's focus on mental illness, and millions of families wait, again, for the government to take seriously the crisis in gun deaths. The deadly shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Ohio brought the rising threat of white nationalism to the front of America's attention. Across social media, politicians, celebrities, and everyday people pointed their criticism toward the shooters, who were white. The El Paso shooter is being investigated for having ties to white nationalist groups. Supposedly, the 21-year-old man who was suspected of having killed 21 people in El Paso posted a manifesto riddled with anti-immigrant rhetoric, writing, quote, "This attack is a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas." We don't know for sure if the shooter wrote the manifesto, but eyes are on the fringe online forums like 8chan, where he posted it. Sunday night, the CEO of Cloudflare, a web development company that hosts 8chan, announced it would no longer support the site. Here's why you should care. America faces a serious threat from white nationalist violence. Senior FBI officials testified that they are pursuing 850 domestic terrorism investigations, and white nationalist ideology plays a large part in those cases. Authorities have arrested between 120 and 150 suspects for each of the last couple of years. Last week, we brought 2 people together who focus on diversity and inclusion for a panel discussion. Here's what April Rain, who launched the Oscar So White campaign, and Haley Sofer, head of the Jewish Democratic Council of America, had to say about white nationalism in the last Democratic debates.
We reject white nationalism. It's un-American. And our organization, the Jewish Democratic Council of America, is deeply concerned.
If we're talking about true diversity, but we're leaving out Native Americans, we're leaving out Africans and people of African descent, then we're not talking about everybody. You know, when I talk about issues of diversity and inclusion, I'm always talking about we're not a melting pot, right? Because you melt something under heat, under friction, and you don't want that. I like to think of it as more of a fruit salad, right? So if you've got this beautiful bowl for breakfast, and you've got your cantaloupe and your watermelon and your strawberries, they work well together, but they all still keep their individual characteristics.
So I'm going to take your fruit salad and I'm going to raise you a stew.
Okay.
And here's why I use a stew instead of a melting pot. Because I think in a stew, you're boiling all the pieces, the potatoes, the carrots, the whatever, the celery. So they all have distinct flavors, but those flavors are flavoring each other. In less than a month, even more China tariffs are scheduled to go into effect. Even with pushback from his aides, the president is adamant that he will continue this fight. The tariffs could be anywhere from 10 to 25%. But China's pushing back too. The Asian powerhouse is letting its currency slip to more than a 10-year low. That plunge is taking U.S. markets for a ride. This morning, the Dow fell almost 600 points on the news. They've also reportedly ordered state-owned companies to halt the purchases of U.S. agricultural products. President Trump called the actions, quote, a currency manipulation, and called on the Federal Reserve to take note of the, quote, major violation. Here's why you should care. Your Nikes, your iPhones, and all the rest of your swag could end up costing more. According to Goldman Sachs, apparel and footwear make up 20% of the products that would be impacted. Cell phones make up 17%, with some analysts predicting a $75 to $100 price increase on iPhones. If China retaliates even more, U.S. companies could be forced to reduce or move production, resulting in fewer sales and a possibility of widespread store closures. The bottom line, if a trade war escalates, we are more than likely headed toward another recession. Thanks for watching Hill TV on YouTube. Be sure to click subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we post new videos, and head to thehill.com for all the latest political news.